Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar session. My name is Andrea White, and I'm from the Advisor Support Team here in the Newcastle head office. We're just going to give it a couple of moments just to allow everybody to log in and get set up before we begin today's session. Before I do begin, can I just ask that everybody just raises their hand just to confirm that they can hear me okay? If you could just select the orange hand icon with the green arrow beside it, that'd be fantastic. Great, good news. It looks like everybody can hear me, so that's fantastic. I think we've got a few people left to log in. We've got about 4 or 5 left to come, so we're just going to give it a couple of minutes to allow them to get set up before we start today's presentation. So today we'll be running the session until 11:30 a.m. It is just a drop-in session, so you can sort of come in and out as you please or get on with any work that you need to do in the background. That's no problem at all. So what we'll be doing today is I will be going through a mortgage sales process from start to finish on the workbench system. We'll also be going through to Office Web and setting the remuneration in there. And I'll also be joined by my colleague Malcolm Etchells, who's one of our mortgage specialists here, and he'll be going through the Trigold process and sourcing the product for us today. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I'm from the Advisor Support Team here in Newcastle. We've got 9 team members here at the moment. It's a brand new team that's set up just to help support the entire group, so all advisors across the group. So we might have intrinsic and positive solutions advisors joining us today. We do have 2 mortgage specialists here in the office. They're my colleagues Malcolm Etchells and Deborah Kilby, who are also part of the advisor support team. They're both ex-mortgage advisors. They've got a lot of experience in the industry, and they help you with any sort of mortgage placement queries that you might have, any mortgage-related questions. So at the end of today's session, once you've gone through the sales process demonstration, we will open up to a question and answer session to allow you to ask any questions. And Malcolm Etchells will be on here on hand to pick up those questions they might have, whether they're mortgage specific or not. We can pick up any questions that you've got. Okay, so it seems like we've got everybody joined us now, so that's fantastic news. So I'm just going to open up my screen for everybody so you can see what I've got in front of me. And again, can I just ask that you could raise your hand just to confirm you can see the Positive Solutions Extranet on the screen in front of you, just so we know that we've got the video up and working correctly. Fantastic, that's great news. Thanks, everybody. So before I do begin the sales process demonstration, I'm just going to show you quite quickly the new page that we have on the Positive Solutions Extranet, which is available at the moment just for Positive Solutions advisors completing their Easy to Do Business training courses. If you are an intrinsic advisor that's joined us today, we will have a similar page up and running on the intrinsic extranet shortly. But at the moment, this is primarily set up for Positive Solutions advisors completing their training courses. Okay, so this page can be found on the Advisor Support Team tab here on the Positive Solutions extranet. And we can then scroll down to Workbench Sales Support here. And you might have already seen this page if you have logged into any of our webinars over the last few weeks. You might have already seen this page, but I would just like to draw your attention to how useful it can be if you do need any additional support once you finish your training course. So first of all, we've got the Advisor Support graphic, and this just gives you a brief outline of the support available once you've completed your course. So if you do need any additional help or support, this just helps you and lets you know who you need to direct your specific query to. Okay, and so first of all, we've got the Advisor Support Team mentioned here. I mentioned this earlier on. Myself, I'm a part of the team, and we've got 8 other team members here up in head office. We've got the 4 Advisor Relationship Support Team members, myself, Andrea White. We've also got my colleague Carl White and Sean McCorfey and Nikki Wilkins. Now we're the specific Advisor Relationship Support Team members, and we are allocated out to different regions within the country. So you might have either myself, Sean, Nikki or Carl as one of your direct support contacts. If you do, you should have received an email from us at the start of January just to introduce ourselves, and you probably will see us throughout the sort of regional events that take place throughout the rest of the year. Okay, we've also got 3 compliance specialists here. They're all diploma qualified, and they can help with the more sort of technical compliance related queries that you might have. In addition, we've also got our 2 mortgage specialists I mentioned earlier on. Malcolm Etchells, one of them, will be joining us later on to take us through the Trigold sourcing demonstration, and he'll also pick up any questions and answers that you might have at the end of today's presentation. So that's the 2 mortgage specialists. They're both ex-mortgage advisors, got a lot of experience in the industry, and they can help with any sort of specific difficult mortgage placement queries that you might have. Okay, now the team can be contacted on 0191 241 0739. We've also got the email address, which is advisorsupport@intrinsicfs.com. In addition to this brand new team, we've also got the new relationship managers and field coaches. They're all based out in the field. And again, if you do have a relationship manager or field coach, they should have been in touch with you by now just to introduce themselves and let you know exactly who your direct contact is. The relationship managers and field coaches can help with your transition over onto the new systems, and also if you are moving from independent to restricted, they'll be there on hand to help you with that transition. The field coaches and relationship managers are also running weekly drop-in clinic sessions. So that's either every Thursday or Friday mornings from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. They're being run on a weekly basis at the moment. And if you did want to attend any of those, they're basically face-to-face drop-in sessions to allow you to go to your local office or a local venue, meet the relationship manager or field coach in that region, and they can help you with any face-to-face support that you might need. So if you would like to attend one of these sessions, as I mentioned, they're being run on a weekly basis. All you need to do is look out for the weekly newsletters or blogs which come out now. They'll be coming from either Steve Bryant or Andy Thompson, just to replace the in the picture newsletter which Peter Coleman would send on a Friday. So if you do want to attend any of those over the next coming weeks, please just keep an eye out for the weekly newsletters, and that will outline the venues, dates, times, and who will be hosting the specific sessions. Okay. In addition to these weekly clinics, we're also hosting daily drop-in webinar sessions, like today's session. At the moment, they're all being hosted from 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. We are hosting specific themed webinars like today's session, where we'll be running through specific demonstrations. So again, if you would like to attend any future webinar sessions, please just keep an eye out for the weekly newsletters and blogs, which come from either Steve Bryant or Andy Thompson now, and also the Positive Solutions main extranet homepage. There will be an announcement on a weekly basis outlining exactly the content, the theme of the webinars, and the links for you to register for those. Okay. In addition to the Positive Solutions webinars, De facto are also running their own sessions. I believe at the moment they're Wednesday morning and Thursday mornings. These are excellent sessions if you do use the De facto system. And all you need to do is just log in via this link here, and that takes you directly through to the De facto homepage and allow you to register for one of those sessions. What they'll do is they'll then just send you an email to confirm your attendance, also along with a link and the time for you to log in. Okay, and finally our technology support team, these guys have always been there for you to help you with any sort of laptop or tablet queries that you might have. So any technical issues that you might be experiencing, the technology support team are still on hand to help you as usual. So that'll be Michael Bell, Michael Henderson or Craig Duggan. They can be contacted as usual at support@thinkpositive.co.uk, or alternatively, if you want to leave them a voicemail for a call back, they can be contacted on 0871 700 1111, and it's option 1 and then option 1 again. Okay, so just to bring us back to the work rent sales support page, we do also have an FAQ document there. You can read that on your own time. It is just a short 3-page document which we've compiled following on from the training courses which ran throughout December. Moving down the page, we've also got a variety of different video tutorials that have been prepared by Intrinsic just to help you through the system. So we've got anything related to Workbench, Office Web, the remuneration process, and there's also a de facto video user guide which has been prepared by de facto for you. And again, you can just view these in your own time. You can stop and start whenever you like, so you can carry on with work if you need to, or go out and meet a client if you have to. And we've also got a fee invoice template here in the remuneration section, and we have had a few questions regarding the fee invoice that you would need to use now, because previously True Potential would have populated that template for you. So there is just a copy of that template here. It's a blank template, but it does have the Positive Solutions bank details and address details on there. And all you would need to complete is the amount, the client details, and client address details. Okay, and then once you've done that, you just upload that to the document section. And moving down, we've also got a copy of the delegates handbooks. These are the handbooks that will have been provided to you on your training courses. They're the big packs, the paper packs that you will have been given, and these are just PDF versions for you. I'd just like to draw your attention to quite a useful page within these documents here. I'm sure you've all seen it already, but it's just a sales process quick guide. And what this does is it just outlines the product areas, what fact find you need to complete, the workbench sales process, whether an ATR profile is required for that particular product area, also the research, the suitability reports, any additional documentation, and whether that requires pre-approval. Okay, so that's on pages 3 and 4. Then you open the handbook, it'll bring you to the front page, which looks like this, and it's just down to pages 3 and 4 of the delegates handbook. And as I mentioned, there's a copy for financial planners, mortgage and protection advisors, and also protection-only IPAs. And just down towards the bottom of the page, just a quick reminder of those important email addresses and telephone numbers should you need any support. Our technology support team, the de facto IFA research hotline number, and also a reminder of the advisor support team telephone number and email address for you all. Okay. And just to remind you where you can find that, it's advisor support team here and down to workbench sales support. So I hope you do find that useful. Quite a lot of information on that page, quite a lot of support tools available for you. Okay, so now I'm just going to move on. As I mentioned earlier, today's session will be running through a mortgage sales process demonstration live on air, and then we'll be going through to Trigold, sourcing the product, and then move them back into Office Web, uploading your documentation and setting the remuneration on the case for you. So I'll be going through the mortgage sales process, and then I'll be joined by my colleague Malcolm Atchells, who will go through the Trigold demonstration for you as well, just to sort of outline how you can source the product and then download your suitability letter from there, and then we'll go back into Office Web and upload that document for you. Okay, so I'm going to be using the test system today. Just obviously we don't want to be adding clients to the live system on today's webinar. So we're going through the test system, so please just be aware if there's any sort of minor differences. This is because this particular software was last updated in January this year. You shouldn't see any differences between the two products, but as I mentioned, this is a test system. Okay, so when you're ready to start your sales process, as you're probably all aware, you open up the gateway, and we're going to click on Workbench here along the left-hand side, and then Start New Sales Process. And as we're completing a mortgage today, we're going to click on the mortgage sales process. And this should bring us through to the Workbench sales process page. Just give it a couple of moments here to load up. And what we're going to do today is go through a very basic case, obviously just to allow us to move through the system quite smoothly. If you do have any questions throughout the sales process, please just pop those into the question box. And what I'll do is I will stop at regular intervals throughout the process and just pick up those questions. If you've got any sort of general questions just relating, to anything else other than the sales process, I will pick those all up at the end of the demonstration for you. Okay. So today we're going to pop in a test case. So we're going to call him Timmy Tester. And all we need to do is select search just to see if there is a client on the system. Yeah, we do already have one, so I'm just going to change this name here, and hopefully that will mean that there's no clients. Okay, let's see. Tanya. There we are. So we're going to create the new client here, as we don't already have this client on the system, and just complete the basic client information here. And we're going to say Mrs. Tanya Test, and her date of birth is the 27th of May, 1990. And I'll just pop the head office address details in here. And once we're ready and we've completed those mandatory fields, which you can see are marked with the asterisks, we're just going to launch new sales process. Now if this was a joint client, for example, we would just click on Add Another Client. we would go through the same process. We would select the client information, and here select search. Once we've established that client isn't already on the system, we would just do the same and add their details in. Once those two clients' details are in there, we would just then select launch sales process. Okay, and this should just bring us through the beginning of the sales process here, and it just takes us through to the disclosure and service level pages. So we're going to select no here. Buyer type, we're going to say she's a first-time buyer, it's 10-year test, and the purpose of the loan is for a purchase. And it's asking here which level of service do you want us to provide you with. So obviously we would select advice and recommendation on a suitable product. If you do select no advice or recommendation, then that would close down the sales process and would allow you to proceed further on to the sales process. Okay, so it's important that you select the first option here. Terms of business, excuse me, an SCDD provided, we're going to select yes. Version number we're going to put as version 2. And the date will pop in as today's date. Once we've completed all the mandatory fields, we can move on to the next page. And we're going to select no as a special purchase scheme. And the purchase price will pop in as 150,000. The loan required will put in as 120,000. Preferred repayment type, again you just select the relevance, we're going to select repayment. And the term we'll put in as 25 years. Source of deposit, so obviously you would pop the details in here. I'm just going to say savings. And I'd just like to bring your attention here to the notepad that you can use. You can use this notepad throughout the sales process if you do want to add any notes to any particular area of the fact find. And once you've made that note and saved it, you can't go back and edit it, but you can add an additional note. So I'm just going to add that note there. And then you can add, obviously you can view this here, or you can add another note, and that would just add that on top. And actually highlight, excuse me, the date and the time that you've added that particular note to the system. And this can be viewed by any case checkers. So if your cases fall into checking, they can view this on the system. Okay. And once you've completed that, you just select close, and we're just going to move on with the sales process here. And it's just given us, asking us to sort of extend on the basic client details that we've already input into the system. So we're just going to select the marital status as single, whether the client is a smoker, client was present, and they are the applicant. Again, you can see all the mandatory fields here as they're marked with an asterisk. And if you do miss out any of that information, it won't actually allow you to move on with the sales process. And at the moment, we're going to say our client is living with friends or family. As this is a first-time buyer, she's currently living at home. And the time of address, we'll say 10 years. And is there a new property address? We'll select yes here. And we'll put that she's moving next door to number 2 Riverside House. And again, it's just going to ask us for the preferred contact method. So whichever option you select, that will then be marked as mandatory. So we're going to select home telephone. And here it's marked that with an asterisk now. And once this information is completed, we can just move on to the next stage. And this section of the sales process just allows us to access and enter excuse me, the employment and income information of the client at the moment. Okay, so we're going to select that the client is employed and she's planning to retire when she's 67. And if you do select, if the client actually is going to be taking the mortgage into the retirement, it will ask you, it will flag this up here on the system, and it will ask you to make additional notes and obviously explain with the client that the mortgage will be taken over into their retirement period, okay? Again, this information isn't mandatory here, so I'm just going to leave this out of the system now, just so we can move on to the next section. So we're just going to pop the client's employment details in, and all you need to do is select Add More here. Employer's name, we're going to say this particular client is a teacher at the moment, so we're going to say that she works in a local school. And again, it allows you plenty of space to enter in the employer's information. We're just going to leave this blank for the time being, just so that we can move through the system. I'm going to say she's a professional and she's a teacher. On the service, we're going to say she has worked there for 2 years. And moving down to the income details here, it does allow you to enter any sort of overtime the client regularly participates in, any guaranteed bonuses, regular bonuses, commission, and also allowances. And you can also change this to weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, or annually as well. Okay, I'm going to keep this fairly straightforward and just say that she just receives a salary on a yearly basis, but she receives no regular overtime, bonuses, commission, or allowances. Okay, if you did want to add more, you could actually just select this box here in the bottom right-hand corner, and that just allows you to copy the information over. Just going to minimize this up, and you can see it's entered the information here. Okay. Again, you can add any sort of self-employment information in here, any additional income, and we're just going to select the income status down towards the bottom here. There is also a note section available just to allow you to add any notes about this particular section. And what that will do is that will just place that into the notepad here at the top, as we sort of spoke about earlier on. And as you can see, it's just flagged up that I haven't entered anything into the months here. So we're just going to add that in, and we can move on to the next section. And as this client is a first-time buyer, we're going to select No for any current mortgages. And any other financial commitments, again, we're just going to select No for this particular client. And once we're ready, we can move on to the next section. And this is asking about the current expenditure. So you can sort of ignore anything that might change after the mortgage or loan is taken out. This is just the client's current expenditure. So as we mentioned earlier on, this particular client is living at home with their friends or family. So we're going to select 0 for the rent, council tax, and utilities. I'm going to pop in that she's got a mobile phone bill of £40. 0 for housekeeping. Travel we're going to put in as, we'll say £100. Childcare 0, she's got no dependents. Maintenance again 0. Car insurance we'll say £50. There's no household insurance as she doesn't actually own a property. No life insurance. She's contributing £40 a month to your pension, and we'll say other expenditure as 100. Okay, and what that does is it calculates the total monthly expenditure here at the bottom. If you do make any changes to that, as you can see, that will recalculate that total for you. Okay. And you can see also that all these fields are mandatory throughout the mortgage sales process. You will find if you're doing a full financial planning fact find, for example, for an investment product, these particular fields will be mandatory but obviously as we're calculating a mortgage here, these particular fields are mandatory, and it won't actually allow you to move on to the system until you've sort of addressed each of those particular areas. So we're just going to move on to the next page here. And this is just giving you a quick summary of the net income, obviously the current mortgage amount, which we've got a 0 because the client's living at home at the moment, any other commitments, the total monthly expenditure, which is pulled through from the previous page there, and then the dispensable income at the moment. Okay? Just a quick snapshot of the client's current expenditure and disposable income there. And this just asks us some quick mandatory credit history questions. I'm just going to select no for all of these just to make the sales process quite easy. And move on to the next section. Again, there's a notes box at the bottom of the page here just to allow you to add any notes if you do need to do so for this particular section. And we don't have any questions in from any of the attendees at the moment, so if you do have anything you'd like to ask myself throughout the sales process, please just pop that into the question box and we can pick that up as we go through. And we're going to select, again we're going to select no for all these potential changes in income or expenditure, obviously just to make this sales process quite straightforward. And we're going to select this as 15 years. And moving on to the next page here. And it just asks you to confirm with the client the sort of required features of this particular mortgage. So as this is a single client, it's the first mortgage. We're going to select stability in payment. Okay, and allow us just to move on to the next section here. And you can select an additional feature if you want to from here as well. And that has brought us to the end of the fact-finding process there. Okay, now what we're going to be doing is moving on to the mortgage sourcing section of the sales process. This is where I'll be handing over to my colleague, Malcolm Etchells. Just going to open up Trigold from here for you all. And we'll just give this a couple of moments just to open up the system. And just before it does so, it's just asking us there just to confirm exactly the property amount, the loan amount, and the term. So as we've entered that already into the system, we're just going to move on to next. And once we select prospect, this will bring us through to Trigold. Just give us a couple of moments just to load up here. So whilst we're waiting for Trigold to launch itself, we do have a question from Robert at the moment. So Robert, I'm just going to take a couple of moments here just to have a quick read through your question, and then I'll be handing over to my colleague Malcolm Etchells here, who'll be running through the Trigold demonstration for you all. So if anybody does have any questions, the next couple of minutes, we'll give a few moments here just to allow you to ask anything that you might have, and then we'll be launching into the Trigold demonstration for you all. Thanks, everyone. Hello everybody, it's Andrea again. So as I mentioned before, we've got a couple of questions at the moment which we'll pick up just before we move on to the Trigold demonstration here. So we've got a question from Robert who asks, when you input the gross salary, the system automatically calculates the net premium. Sometimes this could need changing. Can this be done? So Robert, could you just confirm that you meant the net salary rather than the net premium before we pick up that question for you? If you could just type that into the question box, that'd be fantastic, and we can then address that particular question for you. We do have two additional questions in from Ian and Graham there as well. So Ian and Graham, we're just going to look at those particular questions, and we'll pick those up for you in a moment. Hi, Robert. Yeah, thanks for your question there. And you just confirmed that, yes, it was a net income. So no, unfortunately, the system at the moment, it just calculates the gross for you. And then obviously once you then go through to the product provider and apply for the particular product, they will then obviously calculate or amend that to the net amount for you. Okay, so that's the way the system is set up at the moment, is it will just calculate the gross client's income. All right, hope that answers your particular question there, Robert. As I mentioned before, we've got two more questions in from Ian and Graham. We're just going to pick these up for you now, and then we'll move on to the Trigold demonstration. So we've got a question from Ian who's asked, what income expenditure bits do we have to take from the fact find and add to the Trigold suitability letter as percentages? So Ian, we are going to go through the suitability letter with you in a couple of moments' time once we source the product from Trigold. And what that does is it actually pulls through the information that you've already entered into Workbench anyway for you. So you shouldn't need to manually enter any information into the suitability letter. But we'll show you that in a couple of moments, and hopefully that will answer your question for you there, Ian. Okay. So we've got a question in from Graham as well, who's mentioned he has a lot of clients who ask for research, which you do before going into the sales process. I presume this will be pulled over from my existing stuff into new sales process and prospector. So that's absolutely fine, Graham, if you do your research before you meet with the client. There's no problem at all. If you do use the standalone version of Trigold, so you just open that from your desktop directly and obtain a quote for the client before you do the sales process, that won't automatically pull through to the sales process because it's being completed in the standalone version. Okay, so you would need to then enter the information into the sales process, but you wouldn't necessarily need to re-quote or create another quote for the client. Okay, I hope that answers your question there, Graham. If you've got any further questions around that, please just pop that into the question box. Great, thanks for that, Graham, just to confirm that was okay. And Robert's just asked another question there in relation to his earlier question. If this is the case, then the suitability letter could pull through the wrong information, and the information on the fact find won't match up to the wage slips, which we have to provide, and this could cause problems. So Robert, throughout the sales process, you need to ensure that you complete the exact gross income from the client's pay slips Obviously, you need to see that evidence pay slip there before you enter the information into the system. Again, before you open up Trigold, it does ask you just to confirm that information. So you need to ensure that is correct before you move through to Trigold and complete the suitability letter. Okay, Robert, I hope that answers your question there. We're just going to move on to the Trigold demonstration now. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Malcolm Etchells here, who's our mortgage specialist from within the advisor support team. He's going to pull through the sourcing for us and give you a couple of little hints and tips regarding Trigold. And then what we'll do is we'll take you through the suitability letter, and then we'll move back into Workbench and Office Web and complete the sales process. Okay, so over to Malcolm now.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's Malcolm Etchells here, one of the mortgage specialists. Hope everyone's fine and enjoyed the demonstration so far through Andrea, which I find has been very, very good this morning. What I'm going to do now is just go through the generic sort of Trigold, try to go through some things on a basic level if I can, because obviously I don't know what sort of level you guys are all at. But if you have any questions, just pop them into the box and we can answer them, take it from there. So can I just confirm, can everyone just confirm that they can hear me fine and that everything's all right by raising their hands? Thank you. That seems the most guys are okay at the moment. Okay, guys. So you spoke to Andrea, and she talked to you through the scenario first of all. I believe that it's Miss Tanya Test, and Tanya's 23, and she believes she's a teacher, and she's a first-time buyer. So what you see in front of you now is the basic information into Trigold. Now, Trigold is just a sourcing system. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's a case of you can get whatever you want out of Trigold by putting various things into it. So today we'll look at a very basic scenario, but you can go into Trigold and play around with all the tabs. You'll see on the top you have the client details, which is all the very basic client details. You have the source, which will come to us now. You have property. So if it was a strange property, you could go into there and type in the different type of property, the properties that you've got. If it's a property that might not be the norm, you then got adverse credit. So if one of the clients has got adverse credit, you could go into there and actually put a filter in accordingly. You can leave compliance out for this moment in time, documents, notes, and tasks, okay? And obviously, you've also got expatriate, foreign citizen, and limited company. So, but for today, we'll look at purely looking at this information, okay? But if any questions you have about different scenarios, just put it onto the system if we can. So we click into source quote. You've got purchase, which is quite straightforward. You've got first-time buyer, and you've got repayment. Now, what you could have as well, you could have any of the following things. So if it was a remortgage, you'd type in remortgage. If it was a remortgage for any of those other reasons, it is quite, I would always suggest that you put in remortgage as a generic form and then source it accordingly from the lender. You then got buy-to-let, remortgage, let to buy, etc., etc. But for today, it's purchase. You see that there's a shared button there. If you ever do a shared ownership case, you would click onto the shared ownership case, and then down at the bottom here there would be something appearing which you would then fill in accordingly, share ownership. But today is purely a purchase on a first-time buyer basis. Repayment or interest only or split. So today it's repayment, nice and easy. The valuation of 150,000. The lady has got a £30,000 deposit and a £120,000 loan with an 80. That would then automatically work out at 80% loan of value, and then the term. So what you could do in the future is type in the valuation, put in the deposit here, and everything else is pre-filled for you, and then you put in the term accordingly. Okay. On this side, you have all the various types of mortgages from fixed through to through to tracker. Now, it all depends on your clients and what they want. Presumably, you would have that conversation before you do the sourcing system. So what we can do in this scenario is assume maybe the customer, you thought the customer, and she wants to go for a fixed product. That's what she wants as a first-time buyer because she wants stability. Okay? Then what you then have to do is you can source without putting any terms into the product, but it's probably worthwhile putting in some terms in there. What I always would normally do is go from a 2-year, to say they were going for 2 years, anything up to 5 years, go to 5 years, 6 months. So that will encompass every single deal out there between 2 years and just over 5 years. Okay? You've then got lifetime products. I would always just exclude that for this scenario. And we're using a positive solutions sourcing system today, but there are 3 types of systems. So if you guys are from Intrinsic, you might not get the same sourcing system, but you'll get the hang of how you physically do it. Okay? And then you have the filters on the right-hand side. Now, for today, we could probably leave those filters out, but if you wanted to drill down to specific products, you can type the various filters in. For example, if one of your customers wanted to have overpayments or underpayments, if it was a remortgage and didn't want to have no valuation fees, valuations refunded, etc., and free legals, you could fill them in accordingly down there. Okay? But for today, it's going to be a purchase, first-time buyer, on repayment basis. Quite very simple, vanilla case for today, guys. Okay? What we probably will be doing later on in the year, if you wanted to, we can have more specific and more sort of nichier Trigold demonstrations. But today, it's just a very generic one if we can. You're then going to press onto source. And then it will source. Okay, so what we have, okay, just to confirm, on the left-hand side, we have all the lenders. Okay, we then have the different type of deal it is. So it's F for fixed, so we pick fixed, remember. You've then got the initial rate, so it'll always source from initial rates all the way down to the more expensive rates. You then got initial pay, so it'll be the payment based on the 25 years. You then got when the deal finishes. So as you can see, some of them don't actually have 2 years. They have a date, because most lenders now have a date when the deal finishes. Okay? Then you have the final rate. The final rate is basically the SVR, which is the SVR currently, where it may be different at the end of that period. Okay? So at the end of in May 2016, the SVR could be 5.25, or it could be higher or lower, depending on if that lender changes the SVR. You then got the various fees that the deal attracts. That's the lender fees, be it the application fee, the arrangement fee. You then got various cashbacks deals. You then got the LTV, which is the loan to value, which is what we discussed would be 80%. Now, depending on how you want to source your deal, again, this is solely dependent upon you and your client. But what you could do to make things a little bit easier, okay, is say to your client, okay, how do you want? Do you want the cheapest monthly payment, which would then be rate-driven, or do you want the best deal over that 2 to 5 year period, including any fees? So what we'll do is, let's just say our client decides they want to go for a 2-year deal. We take it back to 2.5 years and then source it again, because then it'll take away the 5-year deals. Okay? And then similarly, if your customer said he or she wanted the cheapest payment, then it is quite simple. It goes from interest rate, monthly payment. It tells you that these are all cheaper than the previous ones. But it might not necessarily be the best deal, because your client might be paying higher fees. So let's just say your customers decided they wanted to have the cheapest deal over 2 years, including any fees. So you go up to so let's go back, sorry. We go to total to pay tab. We then go into the years and we type in 2 for 2 years. So you want the cheapest deal over 2 years, because it's probably not that realistic to have a total deal over 25 years, because things can change so much. You then go down to this section, which is select which fees you would like to be added. So generally speaking, most clients will want to add the fees because, as you're probably aware, guys, if a case goes through DIP and then is then cancelled or then declined off the DIP, if they pay the fee up front, they lose the fee. So invariably, this is what I would generally do, but again, you guys can source it differently. You then go OK, so include any deals, including any fees over the 2-year period. And what you'll see is this should change. Okay, it hasn't changed too much because Platform have got some really good deals at the moment. But what you have is Platform, the lender, the type of mortgage again, the rate. So you see 2.45 is more expensive than 2.35 by £6. However, okay, there is £250 of the cash back. So even though there is a $9.99 fee, which you're going to pay into it, and that monthly figure, by the way, guys, will include the $9.99 as well. Okay, the cashback of $250 makes it cheaper over the course of 2 years because we look at 12,813 all the way down to this. Okay, so that gives you a bit of an idea. If the client decided she wanted to pay no fees, then all you then do with that particular scenario is click in, come back to there, just cancel that and go to no fees. So this will show you all the deals that you've got, including no fees. Okay, so if you didn't want to pay any fees whatsoever, then you've got, again, the Platforms coming up at probably the better deal, 2.8, but with no fees. I'm just going to look at something now to see if it will actually give us a situation of no fees and the cheapest deal. No, it's going back to that again. So it's basically, it's either or the other. So you either go for the ones with fees or the ones with no fees to get the best deal overall. So this would be the best deal overall with no fees. Let's just assume our client says they want the cheapest deal over the 2 years, including any fees, by paying the fees. Hopefully, guys, things are okay so far. And you've got Platform. Okay. What you will then do at this stage, okay, well, what I'll do at this stage, guys, if you want to, I'll put the phone on mute for a moment, and if you have any questions, pop them into the box before we go on to the next section. Thank you. Hi guys, Malcolm back. What I'm going to do now is hand you across to Andrea, who will then be clicking onto the KFI and then taking you through the suitability letter. But if you have any questions for mortgages, generic terms at all, I'm available to 11:30 as well, guys. So take care. Bye-bye.
Hello everybody, it's Andrea again. I hope you all found that useful. Can you just raise your hand just to confirm that that was all right and everybody understood that that's the process? I'm sure you've all used Trigold before and you obviously know how to use the system. Hopefully that gave you some sort of guidelines from Malcolm there. Fantastic. Thanks everyone. That's good news. So what I'm going to do is pull you through just back to the suitability letter, and then we'll go back into to Workbench, finish the sales process there for you, and then we can move through to Office Web and set the remuneration on the case there. Okay, so once you've sourced your particular product, we'll then go back here. We just need to click on the document section there. And it should have pulled through the KFI, but perhaps Malcolm didn't apply for the product there. Let's just go back, shall we? We just need to select KFI there on a particular product. And you just select yes, And you move through the relevant steps here. Okay, we're just going to move through this quite quickly just so we can get the KFI pulled through. Just give it a couple of moments here. It should be loading up. Just going to get rid of this little telephone bar here. That's sort of getting in the way a little bit, isn't it? Get rid of this. And bear with me a couple of moments. The system's been a little bit slow here. I think it's our internet connection here in head office. There we are. So let's pull through the KFI for us. Obviously just the usual document there, and it should have your name here. Obviously I'm not Sean McCoffey. I've just used his login details here to log into the system, okay. But that would pull through your your specific name and obviously your details there. Okay. We're just going to close this down, and this will automatically save for you and pull through to Office Web as long as you've completed this process through the gateway system here. So we're just going to select close. And we'll just move back again into the document section so we can get that KFI and prepare the suitability letter. So it's saying that KFI hasn't been produced for some reason there. Give it a couple of moments to pull through. There we are, and that's pulled it through into the KFI section. And sorry, just to confirm where you can find that, once you finish the quote and you go back, it'll take you either to the client details or source quote tab here. It'll automatically pull you back through. And then all you need to do is select Documents tab, which here is just the third from the right. Okay, and then in the KFI section, it should automatically pull through that KFI that you've just opened. And all you need to do is click the particular KFI, and then you can see the Create Suitability Letter here. Okay? And that's okay. We just select OK. And the reason that it's bringing up this error is because we haven't entered this manually into Trigold, but the reason that we've done that is because we've manually entered it into the Workbench system. Okay? And this is quite similar to the suitability letters that are on the Workbench sales system. So all you need to do is you need to go through different areas here and select the options depending on the client's needs and the product chosen. So I'm just going to select a couple down here just to make sure that we can move on, and obviously the sales process is quite straightforward. Select this option. And anything that's mandatory that you must complete any free text on will highlight in yellow here. So we can see that the mortgage term has changed to yellow. So once we select this section here, it obviously gives us some free text here in the right-hand side box. So it'll ask you, this is because, on the brackets, and you just enter in any free text. I'm just going to put TBC there. Obviously, you would enter in the client's information and the reason for that particular mortgage term. Okay, and just moving on. Scrolling down, and you can obviously select any information that's required. And again, we've got some more yellow mandatory boxes here, which require some free text. Affordability there. Put in an amount there, and we'll just select accept, just so we can move on. And again, accept. Okay, and then just some quick marketing questions at the bottom, and we're going to select maintain contact. Okay. Once you've completed any information that you want to, you select print preview. And sorry, just should have brought your attention to this at the start, but obviously the service level you need to select before you complete the report, sorry. So we should have done that to start with, but obviously in this case it is the full advice and recommendation. Okay? It's just asking us to complete it again just because I've changed that, so bear with me a couple of moments. Quickly move through these sections. Okay, once we've selected print preview there, and it should open the document up for us. And if we do want to edit this document for any reason, you can see the edit button here. If you select product suitability letter, this will bring it into an editable format. And we've had a couple of advisors ask, how you can export it to Word and things like that. All you would need to do is just highlight the document, all the information in here, copy, and you can actually open a Word document and paste the information in there. Okay, so if you want to sort of change any of the formatting of the letter, you just pop it in, and then you can then make any any changes to the formatting, any of the wording of the letter if you need to. Okay, and what it will do is it will pull through the information in sections for you. So it gives you a quick outline of the purpose of the letter and what it's for. A quick sort of overview of the client's sort of outgoings, mortgage required, value of the property, loan amount. Obviously, this would pull through depending on the options that you've chosen through that report builder. But obviously, for today's purposes, we've just sort of skipped past those. Okay, it'll ask you how the product is calculated and selected, particular filters that we put in that Malcolm went through earlier on, and it'll pick through the top 30 different quotes there for you. Okay, and obviously puts the recommendation here at the top. Okay, moving further down the page, it outlines a recommendation that you've made. Obviously, just a quick reminder of the advisor's contact details, so your contact details there, so how the client can get in touch with you, and then just a quick sort of closing paragraph there. Okay, so what we're going to do is save this letter. Let's save this onto the desktop. Because we've made changes and it's pulled through to Word, we do just need to make a copy of this. Okay. Let's place this on my desktop, and we'll just save it as suitability letter Tanya test, and save. Okay. So we can close this down. Now we've sourced the product, obtained the KFI, and prepared that suitability letter there. What we can do is just, if we close down Trigold completely here, we close down all the tabs, close this. It should also pull through the suitability letter into the suitability section here. If you do need to go back and revisit that and perhaps get another copy, it will also be stored in the Documents tab here in Trigold for you. Okay, so we're just going to come out of the Trigold system, exit, and once that has closed down, we can then import that information through. So you won't need to enter the information, the quote information manually into Workbench here. Now let's give it a couple of moments here just to update. And as you can see, that's just pulled through the information there, okay? So it's got the loan amount, the lender that we chose to apply to, monthly payments, and whether we're applying. At the moment, this is highlighted as no for applying. Obviously, we are applying for this particular product. And we need to make sure that we select yes for applying here. So we're just going to open this up and select yes. Okay, it's important that you do that. Otherwise, once you go through to office level, it won't actually allow you to set the commission there, okay? And obviously, you'd enter in the details. We're just going to select TBC here. And you've got to detail any fee that you're receiving. I'm just going to say £200. Okay, so that's that information complete. We can then move on to the next section. And I noticed that we've got a question in from Alan, who I believe has just joined us. So welcome to the session, Alan. Today's session we are going through a mortgage sales process demonstration. We have just come to the end of the sales process here, but your question is, would it be okay to ask a question about a client relating to a draw pension and the advice process? Just a quick question. So Alan, you're more than welcome to ask any questions. We'll be opening up the session to a Q&A in about 5 minutes' time. What we're going to do at the moment is just go through, complete the sales process, and then we'll move on to Q&As for you. Okay, so we've got a question. It doesn't necessarily have to be about this particular sales process. Just fire away, pop your question into the question box, and then we can pick that up at the end for you, Alan. Okay, I hope that's all right. And we've got a question in from Graham who says, based on the previous question, if I do illustrations separately, then presumably this won't import. What do I do then? So good question, Graham, and thanks for sort of flagging that up there. If you do the illustration separately and you source the product and the quotes from Trigold on the standalone version, so I think we had a question earlier on where someone had asked, you do your quote before you meet the client. That's absolutely fine. If you do that, you would just need to enter in the information manually. So what I'll do is just go through back to the mortgage sourcing tab here, just to show you how we can do that. So if you do have, or if you have sourced the quotes manually through the standalone version of Trigold, and you haven't necessarily gone through Prospector here in the sales process, then you won't have the ability then to import, as I've just done there. So all you need to do, Graham, there is just select Add Quote here. Okay, can you see that tab there? And once you select Add Quote, it'll then just give you blank information and sort of free text just to allow you to enter that information in there. Okay, and it is exactly the same information. You just select the particular provider, product type, rates, and all the same, exactly the same information. All right, Graham. I'm going to delete this row here. So obviously we don't need that. We've just pulled through the information already. So just move on to the next page. Again, if anybody's got any questions throughout the sales process, please just pop those into the question box. I'm more than happy to stop and pick those up for you, okay? And now the package shaping section here, that relates to whether you're selling anything that goes along with the mortgage. For example, if you're recommending any protection policies to the client as well as part of the mortgage, we would select package shaping, and that will pull you through and allow you to enter that information and obviously package that particular product to meet the client's needs. Okay. In this case, we're just going to move on. As I mentioned, we're going to keep it quite straightforward and simple today. If you don't necessarily have to do this as part of the process. You can always complete the mortgage sales process and then move back and do a sort of protection fact find as well. Okay, there's absolutely no problem with doing that either. Just going to click on mortgage summary here, and this will allow us just to summarize the mortgage before we finalize the process. Okay, we're going to move on. As I mentioned before, this client is a new, brand new buyer, a new homeowner, so we're just going to select next. And please excuse this error message is popping up. I'm not quite sure where this has come from. Okay, so this is just asking you to outline the client's expenditure once the sale is completed and the mortgage is completed and they're taking on that debt there. Now it does ask for rent here. A couple of advisors have asked us in the past whether that relates to the new mortgage monthly amount. No, so it will actually detail that further along in the process. So the rent is just any rent that the client will be paying. Okay, so as this client lives at home at the moment, we're going to keep that as 0. The council tax will increase, obviously because she will have council tax to pay once she's moved into the new property. And again, the utilities will increase as well. We're going to keep the phone and internet the same. We're going to keep the housekeeping as 0, the travel as 100, childcare as 0, and we're going to add some household insurance in there. And we're going to leave this as blank for now. And we're going to say the other expenditure maybe will increase to 100. Okay, and again that just recalculates the total monthly expenditure at the bottom there for you. We've got a question in from Tony, who said that on the intrinsic course there were problems with the version of Adobe. Have these been resolved? And if not, how do we get the correct version? So that is a very good question, Tony. We have had a few advisors raising this over the last couple of weeks on completion of their training courses. So yes, there is a known issue with Adobe, particularly with opening documents. So if you had any issues opening any documentation, for example, the suitability letter, the KFI, or anything like that, if you aren't able to do that, please let us know straight away. So let the advisor support team know straight away. That is a technical issue, and our technical support team do have a fix for that. Okay, and all they need to do is just replace the current version of Adobe that you might have on your tablet or laptop there, and replace that with a new copy. So Tony, if you do have that issue, please let us know, the advisor support team, and we'll direct you to the technology support team, who will pick that up for you and help resolve that. Okay, Tony? I hope that answers your question there. If you just raise your hand just to confirm that it has, that'd be fantastic. Great, thank you very much, Tony. Okay, so we're just going to move on to the next step of the sales process here. And this just outlines the current expenditure and the new expenditure. And as you can see here, this actually calculates the new mortgage costing for you. So that pulls it through from the information that we've entered previously in the mortgage sourcing section there, okay? Just outlines a quick difference between the disposable income there at the bottom for the client. Again, you can make any notes. So at the bottom of the page there, and that will just add that into the notepad section. And we can just move on to the next page. Okay, and it's just saying that the mortgage interview process has been completed, so we've gone through all the mandatory fields, everything has been completed, so we can now close the sales process. Okay, and it will just bring you to a quick page just to confirm you're happy for the sales process to be closed down. And if you do want to close the sales process completely, which means that you will not be able to go back and edit any part of the sales process, you would select close and create a contract. Once you've closed the case, that means it's then uneditable, okay? You cannot go back and change anything in this particular sales process. You can still add your documentation, you can amend anything to do with the fees or commission, but you won't be able to change anything that we've gone through within the sales process, okay? So today we're just going to create a contract, and this will pull us through to Office Web, okay? And you can see there, it just gives you a quick reminder that the sales process has been checked in. Now checked in purely means that the sales process has been sort of backed up onto our central service here in head office, and it's no longer sort of isolated to your machine there, so it's no longer just on your particular machine. It's been checked in, so anybody here at head office can view that case, and also if you've got a power planner or a PA that might want to access the case, they can then go and access that information, okay? So it just takes it off your machine and places a backup copy into the central service here, okay? So now this is taking us through to Office Web. And this is a sort of back office system which allows you to view the client information. You can view the sales process. You can also add any documentation, and you can set your remuneration or fees here as well. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is upload the documentation. And you can see here along the left-hand side there's just a little Documents tab, and that's already pulled through the KFI. So if you do source the product from Trigold through the sales process, like we've done today, that will automatically pull through the KFI from Trigold for you. If you do source the product on the standalone version of Trigold, so as I mentioned earlier on, if you've sourced the product before you've met the client or before you complete the sales process, it won't automatically pull this through. You would need to save the copy and add the document here. Now it won't pull through the suitability letter, so you do need to manually upload that. So we're just going to select Add here and Browse. And we're just going to find this document here from my desktop where we saved it earlier on. I think we saved it as suitability letter, didn't we? And we're just going to open that, and you've got spaces here just to add more. You can browse again, and you can add them all at the same time, and then once you're ready, you can just select Upload. Okay, and that just gives you a quick confirmation that the upload has been uploaded successfully there for you. Okay, just going to close out of that, and then you can see that suitability letter has then appeared within your document section. All right, you just go through and add any additional documents that you need, obviously a URU, anything else that you've got for the client, you just pop that information in there. You can see it links to this particular sales process that we've completed today. All right, and once that's complete and you've uploaded all your documents, you just click on the client details section here, and all you need to do is just quickly confirm that client details are correct. Okay, anything that's highlighted in yellow here, or sort of this colour here, that is mandatory, so you will need to complete that before you can move any further. And we've got a question from Graham who's asked, if you do the suitability letter at the same time as illustration, before you close Trigold preview button, is the suitability letter still not uploaded? So Graham, that is correct. The suitability letter, unfortunately, does not pull through from Trigold, even if you are doing that through the sales process. Okay, so you will always need to save a copy of the suitability letter, save it to your desktop or local drives, wherever you save your client documents. Save that, and then you will need to manually upload that. Okay. And thanks for that question there, Graham. Okay, so we're just going to move on now and complete the client details. Has pulled most of the mandatory fields through. She's asking you how has the verification be confirmed, and we're just going to say electronic. Will have completed the URU process prior to completing the sales process there. And the partner details, and this just gives you an opportunity to link to, for example, the client is a joint client, you can link this sales process to them. Okay, so for ease, we're just going to select Save here, and you can see there it's got the MCOM, which is the mortgage sales process confirmation. And now all we need to do is just set the remuneration. So the set remuneration is basically just the submit button on the Office web system. So all we need to do is select quotes list here from the left-hand side. And this is pulled through the quote that we've applied for. And as you can see, it asked us earlier on if we were applying for the product, and we selected yes, so this is also pulled through. And we can see at the moment that the remuneration set is set to no. Okay? So all we need to do is highlight the particular quote and then set remuneration down to the bottom here. Okay, and again it will highlight the mandatory boxes in yellow for you, so you know which pieces of information you need to complete. We're going to say packager, we're going to say none for this particular product. And the lender is pulled through already, and we're just going to select the product. And the mortgage type, we're going to say at the moment, we're going to say is fixed for this one. It's pulled through the mortgage amount and the monthly repayments, also the terms. At the moment, this is on pipeline because we haven't received any commission or fee for it yet. And all you need to do is move through the tabs at the top here. And again, if you want to add a second or a joint client, you would select Client 2 here. Okay. Obviously, this is just a single application, so we're going to leave that as Tanya Test. If you know the contract or policy number, we would pop this in here. We're just going to make one up for the time being. And again, it should pull through your advisor details. We've also got here an opportunity for you to add a split. So if you are if you've been referred this case by another Positive Solutions advisor, for example, or if you're sharing the commission or fee with them, all you need to do is select Referred by AR. As you can see, this is the training system, so it's only got the training logins, but on the live system, this would pull through and allow you to enter any of the Positive Solutions partners in here. Okay, so for example, you would just select Training AR1, and then the advisor you would select as the advisor's name, okay? So we're going to say Training RI11 is the referring advisor, and the percentage of commission that they're going to get, so we're going to say 5. Whether there's renewal or trail payable, we're going to select yes. Whether that's different to the share is different to the initial commission or fee, so we're going to select yes, and we're going to say they're going to get 3% of the trail. And also, if you do have an introducer, so for example, it's being introduced by an estate agent or a solicitor, anybody like that, if you've already got the introducer set up on the system, this will also be pulled through here. So if you've got an existing introducer that refers any business to you, this will appear in the drop-down list. As I mentioned, this is a test system, so we haven't got any introducers set up, but that will appear for your particular introducers. Okay, and again, you just follow the same process and add any split in as relevant. Okay, I'm just going to move through onto the compliance tab. And it just asks how the advice is provided. So we're going to say face-to-face. And we're going to pop in the date as today's date. And you need to complete all of these sections or it won't allow you to move on. And just to confirm, the document has also been uploaded to the document section. We haven't actually uploaded the application, but obviously in your case you would. And the suitability letter there. And we've got a question from Ian who said, do we ever need to print the fact find? Ian, you don't need to print the fact find for sort of compliance purposes, so we wouldn't ask you to do that. But for example, if the client wanted a copy of it, then you could print it as well. What happens is the sales process automatically links to Office Web. So if, for example, anybody's checking the case does follow to check-in, and anybody here in head office needs to view that, they can view the sales process, they can view all the client information in the fact find, so you don't necessarily need to print and attach it. Okay, hope that answers your question there, Ian. Can you just raise your hand just to confirm it has? Fantastic, thank you very much, Ian. That's great. Now we're just going to move on to the remuneration section. And we're going to say this is non-indemnity. And it's already pulled through the proc fee, which we entered into the workbench sales process earlier on. And if you did have any additional fees that you were charging the client, you would just enter this information here. Again, you can add initial or ongoing, and you can then edit that as well if you've made any mistakes. All right. So we're just going to select Save on here, in the bottom left-hand corner there. And this effectively submits the case. Now we can see the remuneration set has been changed to yes. That means that the case has been submitted. All right. That's the sort of the end of the sales process. Again, it has been quite brief and quite a simplified process, just so we can sort of get through it all within the hour. If anybody has got any questions regarding the sales process, or any questions for myself, my colleague Malcolm Etchell, the mortgage specialist here, or anybody else from the advisor support team, the webinar is open for another 10 minutes, so please just pop your questions into the question box. We will pick those up for you as soon as we possibly can. I hope you have found the demonstration useful today. Again, we'll be running these sessions every day. They will be different every day. So if you do want to join another one of our sessions, please just keep an eye out for the announcements for next week's session. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the line and wait until some questions come in. If anybody has got anything they'd like to ask, again, pop that in the question box. We'll pick that up for you as soon as we possibly can. Thank you very much, everybody.